What is up, freak bitches? Wherever you may be, however you may be watching, thank you for giving us just a few minutes of your time. And some of you already saw me waving because I didn't have the studio mode up on Streamlabs. You were just seeing the one picture I had. But hey, for all of those of you who were already watching and saw me wave, hello again. And joining me as always is the Dowager Countess, Miss Lady Cora. How are you tonight, ma'am?
I'm great. My laptop's being an asshole, but thank God I have 2 iPads.
Thank God for 2 iPads. And the man himself, the horror king, my hetero life mate, Jeremy Woolner. What's up, buddy?
That's a pretty big title. Thank you. I will try to wear that crown with pride. Whatever it's made out of, probably bones and teenagers' teeth. That's probably what it's made of.
Probably. You know, you finally got a chance to go watch Night Watch and all his crew over there do at least a part of their video they did yesterday. So that's I was making sure I've been throwing that at you the last couple weeks because I know the horror is definitely your thing and you're gonna get a kick out of everything they're doing over there. They are definitely a horror centered channel.
Yes, sir.
And that works great. I really like their reviews, so you guys can go check them out. So there's my shameless plug for Night Watch and all his crew over there, which you can find the description to his channel the link to his channel in the description below. But we are here obviously to talk about all kinds of crazy shit that has been going on in episode 5. Now, if you're one of those people that was like, I don't like WandaVision, it's not very good, it's boring. You know what? None of you motherfuckers have any excuse to even be watching the show at this point. Now you're getting everything you wanted. And you guys were shitting on the first 2 or 3 episodes of the show. Okay? You guys don't deserve what the show is giving you right now.
I think I just saw something. I meant to mention this the last couple times we did this review. I saw the title of this, kind of like what you're saying. It was WandaVision is not bad. You all just forgot how to watch television. For real. You forgot how to watch a show. Well, really? I mean, am I wrong?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, every Marvel property, individual property, has its theme. Where it's Thor is the mythological, sci-fi, weird kind of thing, whereas the Ant-Man have been kind of heist movies. Let's see, the Spider-Man movies have been kind of a coming of age, teen kind of Howard Hughes-ish kind of film. Let's see, the first Captain America was definitely an old school kind of war movie, whereas the last 2 were kind of political thrillers. That's kind of been Captain America's thing. You know, Tony Stark and everything in Iron Man's been kind of the tech action thing. But when they all come together, those things all meld together very, very well because they've done a great job crafting the story. Now, that's exactly what WandaVision has been. It's been, at its heart, it's been an homage of all the eras of television. The first 3 episodes, 50s, 60s, into the 70s, and the way television was done. And I think artistically it's been fantastic. I kind of, in my head, I liken it to, and I just watched the Kill Bill Volume 2 review over on Night Watch channel. I was thinking about how it's kind of like the way that Tarantino put those movies together. It's kind of an homage to how movies were made in that genre back in the 70s and into the early 80s. The weird cuts, the weird tones, the color palettes of everything. That's exactly what this show has been. It's been, at its heart, at this point, kind of an homage to the early days of television. And now we're getting caught up to the current state that we find the MCU in, and it's transitioning from that into the more normal MCU fare that we've been getting for the last 10 or 12 years. So, and why people did not understand that is beyond me. This show has done a great job about doing that. Wanda's theme, her theme to her little standalone thing, and that's what this series is. It's her way of getting a standalone film without being a film. That's been her thing. Her little niche is the era of television history, and why people were not able to see past that is beyond me. I just don't get it. There's my little rant for this episode.
You feel better?
I do feel a little bit better, because I feel like it's kind of shitty. And we've all got kind of spoiled, I know. We're all used to getting a certain thing from Marvel. But they were giving us something different.
Yeah, but I was still...
Well, me and you
I was still roped
in. We're all real fans.
This show's underappreciated for what it is. This show has made me want to watch television again and made me want to become a Marvel Universe person that actually watches everything and look forward to the future of it. This show is almost like an ambassador to the love of television again.
Yeah, it's a fantastic show, and the people that are shitting on it, they just don't get it. And to top it off...
I hope it gets some Golden Globe nominations, but I doubt it will win.
It might. It's Disney. Disney's a bigger name than Netflix still. So while Netflix has been getting shit on for the last couple of years, Disney, they're going to get all kinds of award nominations. But yeah, that's been my whole thing. Is like the people who shit on the first couple episodes, they just don't understand what this show is supposed to be. That's its niche. Whereas all these characters have their individual kind of styles for their standalone movies. That's what this is for WandaVision. Her individual style is this kind of short walk through the history of television. And now we're up here to the really, really exciting stuff. We're starting to get some answers to some of the questions, get posed some of the bigger questions and stuff like that we're going to be getting answered over the course of the rest of the show. And now people are finally getting into it. But it's like, dude, you guys just don't remember what TV was like. It's all a bunch of 13-year-olds who only want the quick payoff. By the time you get halfway through the first act, they want to see all the action. Well, you're not really watching closely enough. And to top it off, I think it's brilliant that Kevin Feige's doing this. He is really, he's taking a chance and doing something different. And for all the people out there just bitching that every movie is either a remake or just another Marvel or comic book movie, they're giving you what you want. What you're saying you're not getting, you're not watching it. Or you're not liking it, you're not appreciating it. So, appreciate it for what it is. That's all I'm saying. But, yeah, PZ Dude says, I love the throwbacks. It's her idea of what should be. Well, yeah, that is. That's very show-specific. But, yeah, I mean, the throwbacks are a fun thing. It's fun to watch the show evolve from the Mayberry style of episodes that we got from episode 1 to the more action-centered stuff that we're used to getting from Marvel in the last couple episodes. That's all I'm saying. But, yeah, appreciate the show for what it is. But, yeah, let's get to everything that happened in this episode. Episode 5, things continue to really just go absolutely nuts. Now, the first couple of things that happens, they happen kind of rapidly once you get into the episode. And the first thing is, as I go to my notes, it's from the first scene. They're obviously, they're trying to deal with 2 screaming babies and stuff like that. Agnes shows up, as she often does, kind of, at odd times. And we get this scene where the first one is where she flubs a line, and we're usually on the set, someone would yell cut, and they would do it over again. She starts to say, do you want me to go back and do that again? But Vision and Wanda seem to not know what she's getting at. Like, it seems like they don't know that they're in a show, or at least they act like it.
And then she looks at them like waiting for them to pick up on it. And then she realizes they're not, and then she has to catch, just like when Monica brought up Ultron, she was waiting, and then it had the exact same reaction to, oh wait, I'm pushing too hard, I'll back off.
Well, we don't really know what Monica knew as reality in that moment either. It seemed like she was like part of the old Monica was trying to come through, but it was all being suppressed by this craziness that's going on inside the Hex. Whereas Agnes seems to know that something was not done right, and in a weird twist, it seems like Vision and Wanda are the ones that don't seem to get it. And that kind of, now it's one of those things that kind of makes me wonder exactly what is Agnes's role, because there are some things that we see, and we're going to talk about them here in a minute or two, that it seems like Agnes would notice these things and think they were out of place, but it doesn't seem to shake her. And to reverse it again, it seems like Vision and Wanda notice these things, or at least discuss it that they happened, but there isn't really any understanding on Agnes's part that it's out of place. So I don't really know who is doing what here. It just adds to the constant.
Well, she's part of the architect, sure. She has to be part of the architect behind all this.
Well, we don't know that for
are
sure
you sure?
yet, but
Are you sure Wanda wasn't in on it? Because unless I'm missing something here, I'm like, Wanda seemed to kind of know what she meant. Because when Vision asked her, and she was just trying to play it off, no, that's not what she meant. No, she meant, oh, take the babies, and she's here to help us. It's almost like she thought Wanda's also the director of this whole thing. She's like, wait, you want me to do it again? And she's kind of trying to Wanda was almost like, oh shit, what do I do here?
It's almost like Agnes is her assistant director.
Yeah, she kind of looked at her for her, because she looked at her for direction. She looked at Wanda hey, take it from the top, and she's like, what?
Yeah, to me, that whole scene just added to the confusion of exactly what Agnes's role is. I still do believe that Agnes is not. I mean, there's a lot of a lot of people out there thinking that she's Agatha Harkness, things like that. I'm not entirely sure of that yet. It wouldn't shock me to find that to be true in the coming episodes. But I'm not entirely sure if she is one of the people responsible for this, or if she's a player who kind of finds herself having to play along to get along. But the question is, what does she know? I don't know if you guys saw the promo for episode 6 that came out, I think, yesterday.
I did not.
It's on YouTube. I watched it earlier today. It looks like the next episode is when we're going to see that one scene that happened early in the promotional material where Vision touches her head and kind of takes her out of the hex for a minute, and she says, "Am I dead?" And he says, "Why would you think that?" She said, "Because you're dead." It looks like we're going to get that scene in this next episode. So I think we're going to find out a little bit more. It looks like we're going to find out a lot more about Agnes in the next episode, and we may start to finally at least erase some of the blurs to exactly what her role in this whole thing is. Maybe not all the answers, but yeah, we're definitely gonna get some answers on Agatha soon. And Nightwatch.
Well, there's only 4 more episodes left.
Yeah, but yeah, this next episode is episode 6. So yeah, 4 more episodes left. So we're gonna have to find some answers about Agnes here pretty quickly. But after that, we ended up getting this super cool like Family Ties opening, which I absolutely loved. The 80s child in me was getting a kick out of this.
Kitchen was so much like the Family Ties kitchen.
I was like, this was awesome. Definitely very 80s.
Like it was the exact same set. Like,
yeah.
So real.
Yeah, this had a lot of
loved it.
This had a lot of Family Ties, Full House kind of feel.
I caught the Full House kind of thing.
I thought the Full House was a bit of an ironic thing. I don't know if they meant to do it or if it was just an idea they had because, obviously it was Elizabeth Olsen's sisters that were
the Olsen
Full House. But
I almost died when she said, "You'll be my favorite twin." I'm like,
You're like,
the twins.
Subliminal? Is that something her sister?
I tried not to laugh. I'm like, she probably had to stop. Oh fuck, that'd be hilarious if they came in for an episode.
They wouldn't.
Just really fuck with everybody. I know they wouldn't.
But it'd be funny, yeah.
That would be funny. I don't know.
No, that'd be funny.
Marvel's definitely got enough money to throw at
that. Nah, you know what? Put fucking Bob Saget in there for no fucking reason.
I was just about to say it'd be better if they brought Bob Saget. You took it right out of my mouth, man.
Dave Coulier comes in like, "Hey guys, cut it out." I don't know.
Yeah.
I forgot exactly how bad the whole joke was in that show. Cut it out.
Look, man. Cut it out. It was the 90s, man. Leave it alone.
God, that was so 90s. It was so horribly 90s. But, getting back to the meat and potatoes.
Or maybe put John Stamos in. Who cares?
Hey, you know what? Disney's got enough money to throw at all these people for a cameo. I guarantee they come a big enough check.
Oh, I know.
Say no. But, so we get back to the sword base. And at this point, Monica's being debriefed after Wanda yeeted her out of her little holodeck hex situation. Now, the doctor looking at her says that her x-rays are messed up and need to be done again. Obviously, the question is this the beginning of Photon? And for those of you who don't know, Monica Rambeau in the comic books actually becomes Photon, which, as some of you eagle-eyed viewers might notice, was her mother's call sign when she was a pilot in Captain Marvel. But she does end up becoming Photon. Now, a lot of people are theorizing this is the beginning of her getting powers. I don't think that she's going to have powers over the course of the show. I think it's something that will probably happen later on in the MCU. I think it's more likely it's going to happen somewhere in like a Captain Marvel sequel, maybe even in the upcoming one, who knows. But it does but there's another scene that kind of makes you wonder about exactly where things are going for her, because when Captain Marvel gets mentioned later on in the show, she has this very odd reaction. I don't know if it was she hasn't seen Captain Marvel since Captain Marvel left at the end of the events of that film, or if she's upset at hearing her name. I didn't really understand what her reaction was. It could be either one of those. But what did you guys think?
Paused. She kind of just paused there for a minute. I was like, "Is she okay? You guys cool?"
Cora, what'd you get? What do you think that reaction meant?
Honestly, I don't know enough about Captain Marvel to say, but I did notice her pause and notice that it almost made me wonder, is she still piecing shit together after coming back from the snap thing? And she's trying to, I mean, I can imagine after being gone that long and then being 3 weeks in, thrown into all this, there's still, but that could be explained away easily, or it could be a clue. I mean, it's one or the other. There's so much body language innuendo in this series that it's hard to know when to pay attention and when not to.
I mean, the only times we've seen Captain Marvel is obviously, like I said, the movie, and then we saw her again in Endgame when she came back for the final fight. So we don't really know what she's been up to, you know.
Well, I would
Or if
imagine
she ever really comes back.
I would imagine that Monica may have something in the back of her head saying, why weren't a bit of animosity towards Captain Marvel and Carol Danvers, is to say, why didn't you come back in time to stop this from happening? Why didn't you come back so I at least could have been around for my mom when she passed away? Maybe there's a little bit of animosity in that. I don't know. We could see. I mean, it could be kind of a first step to some kind of a plot line that we're going to get between the two in the next Captain Marvel movie. I think that kind of makes sense.
Okay.
But there might be some animosity. Why didn't you come back before and then let me spend some time with my mom? And maybe that'll be a personal storyline that gets played out between the two of them. I mean, there's going to be probably a couple of different subplots in that movie anyway. This could be one of them. That's just my thought. But, moving on, there was this really fun...
I like it. There's a lot of potential there, even in a small moment.
Especially if she ends up getting some powers, which it looks like they're kind of walking down that path right now. So, you might actually see
maybe something happened to her when she. Maybe something happened to her when she went in the Hex, because all that's kind of under Wanda's power. Who she got power from one of the stones, right? So maybe something happened to her in that, just that time that she was in there.
Yeah. Nightwatch says Agatha is going to be a nice reveal. I think it's going to be interesting to see. I hope that if she ends up not being what a lot of people think she might be, which is obviously Agatha Harkness, that it may be a little bit of a bummer, that some people are going to feel a little cheesed. I personally don't care. I think Catherine Hahn is awesome. I think she's playing this. I think she's playing this role brilliantly. I think I've enjoyed her for years and years and years. But who knows? I mean, there's still a lot that's going to play itself out. And again, a lot of this stuff is setting up a lot of what's coming in the MCU in the future. So while we may not see this play out in the next 4 episodes, we may see this play out in the next couple of movies, but we'll see. But we did have this fun little flex moment between the new Flex head and Agent Wu, which was kind of fun. They were both kind of going back and forth about some little factoids about things, and that in and of itself was an interesting
about
conversation.
Wanda.
Yeah, that in and of itself was a really interesting conversation, because you do have to remember, and he reminds you that Wanda is kind of like Hulk. I've always said that Hulk is very interesting because he's not necessarily a hero or a good guy. It's just always the bad guys that piss him off. At least before Marvel. Before the MCU got a hold of him and kind of altered his character a little bit, that was kind of how it always was. Wanda, I think, is that character now. We don't really know that she's a good guy anymore. She was a good guy for the purposes of the movies. Well, for most of the movies anyway, with the exception of the first half of Age of Ultron. But now she's gone through a lot. I mean, John Campea said that her story is a supervillain background story. That's, you've watched all the people you love die, your parents, your brother, your husband, your whatever. That's the kind of thing that turns somebody into a supervillain. And with Wanda being arguably the most powerful person in the MCU, and I'll remind you guys again that she was working Thanos bad, and he had to call down his doomsday weapon to stop her. Yeah, this
I would argue that Captain Marvel put up a good fight.
She did. Well, and it took
that's
him.
That's what
I know.
Dude said in the chat.
That line killed me. I was like, I've always said that too. I'm like, Captain Marvel put up a good fight. He had to pull the fucking Power Stone out just to fucking hit her. I'm like, yeah.
That's true. But all
right.
But again, I don't think Captain Marvel has been through the kind of emotional and mental turmoil that Wanda's gone through.
Oh no.
So assuming that they're both awfully powerful, and they are, Wanda is the one that has had her buttons pushed in a way that could lead to her snapping if she hasn't snapped already. And here's
a thought though. Does Captain Marvel know her friend died? That could be another thing we don't know. Like, does she know that Monica's mom died?
I want to say probably yes at this point, but we haven't. I mean, obviously they haven't even filmed a shot of Captain Marvel's sequel yet. So I mean, I think they're filming it this year.
I'm just wondering that angle, like that.
And also, we don't quite know what time period the Captain Marvel sequel is going to take place in. Does it take place in the
True.
early 2000s? Does it take place in modern time? Today's time. I don't know. We're going to find all that out in the Captain Marvel movie. My guess would be yes, because one of the things that people, were talking about this episode, they keep talking about the events that happened during Endgame, was how did Agent Wu and all these guys know what happened, who died, who lived, what went down during that final fight. I'm like, well, they're all government. They're all connected. They probably know. I would imagine that all the people that survived filled out, after action reports, for those of you who know what those are, who have some military knowledge. Whenever there's something like that goes on, there's something called an AAR, an after action report. I would imagine the governments of the world, if not at least the United States government, wanted to sit them down and say, hey, exactly what happened. Give me a step by step, blow by blow, description of what went down. So I would imagine that they have access to all this information. But that's just me. So I don't know.
I believe it.
I like to think that she knows, and maybe that's one of the reasons that she had the reaction she had when
that's what I'm thinking.
Captain Marvel's name. It's have they spoken since? I mean, it's only been
Unless
3 weeks since she came back. Have they spoken yet?
The director is hiding stuff from her.
Possible. I mean, that's something where you have to.
And she's wondering that, like she's realizing, I wonder what he's hiding from me.
True.
I mean, I come back and he immediately
look. I don't want to
out here and doesn't want me a part of operations. It says I'm grounded, and now all the stuff is coming up. What don't I know?
Yeah, there is this air.
I mean, for all you know, your mom could still be alive. You don't know. Maybe they're just fucking with you.
Yeah, there is this small little
air
of distrust that exists.
And the hospital wouldn't be a part of that.
Hey, man.
Probably
Big
not.
Brother got
they would have faked her death, and the director knows she's alive.
I'm just saying.
Probably not. But the doctor seems to, not the doctor, but there does seem to be a little bit of animosity, or maybe even a little bit of distrust in the air that exists between Wanda and her boss. Maybe it's that she's still just trying to get used to him being in that position.
You mean Monica?
Or yeah,
I was like, wait, Wanda.
Sorry, between Monica and her boss.
Oh, it's okay.
Maybe she doesn't quite understand.
Well,
maybe she's not.
Wanda sure didn't like the director.
Yeah.
We saw that happen.
Yeah, Wanda didn't like him. We'll talk about that in a minute. But but and that moves us on to the debriefing. Now, Monica makes it clear that she doesn't believe that Wanda is a terrorist, that she is not necessarily the main bad guy about this whole thing, and that she doesn't want to do harm. He makes it very clear to her that she wants to it's become clear to Monica that she's trying to create this little bubble to live in. And now this very much does put her at odds with her boss. Though. She is, but this does absolutely put her at odds with her boss.
Larger ramifications.
Well, that's what she was saying. Like, I'm on your side, Wanda. Like, I get it.
Yeah. Well,
because she's like, she could have killed me. She could have fucking ended me right there.
And she could have. I mean, Wanda could have just squashed her into nothingness and evaporated her right then and there if she really wanted to.
Right.
But but this obviously, one of the things that this does is it definitely puts her at odds for the first time that we can see very, very clearly with this new director, whose name for some reason I can't seem to remember. But this is definitely a strong point of contention that is probably going to carry on for the rest of this season. What do you guys think of all that?
Go ahead, Jeremy. Sorry.
Well, no, I'm kind of going back to like what we were saying with the whole thing between the director and Agent Wu. It was a nice one because he was like, I don't want to speak bad of her. I'm like, well, yeah, it kind of brings both points to the table. Like, dude's kind of saying like the whole thing. I mean, I'll go dip into DC here a little bit. It's like she's kind of like the Superman. Like she's so goddamn powerful, and it's like, well, she could fuck us all up. So you got to think like, yeah, she's kind of dangerous, and she's doing shit that she probably shouldn't be. Whatever her emotional driven decisions are. And then, but Wu's kind of like, yeah, but, he's like, she did help them out, and she did, come to their side and, become one of the Avengers. So I like the balance there where they're trying to, like, kind of, it makes her a little more complex, kind of, and what she decided to do. Because it's kind of like what I was saying. She didn't get a happy ending, so I get she's, like you said, she's been pushed the wrong way so many times. So she's just kind of taking everything into her own hands with the amount of power she has.
Yeah, one of the interesting things about this scene is that they're both right. I mean,
that's what I mean, yeah.
You want to give Wanda the benefit of the doubt because she does have a history of fighting in big moments alongside the good guys. I mean, fighting against Thanos, turning on Ultron and fighting against him, trying to let's face it, she was trying to help and do good when shit went crazy in the beginning of Civil War. She wasn't trying to hurt anybody. She was trying to help. She saved Captain America's ass. So I mean, she was trying to do good. So there is a history both ways of her behavior, and it's hard to know if you can really trust her or not, which is one of the reasons why a lot of people are theorizing that she is going to be the primary villain of the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That the way this whole story arc is going to go, it's because all this stuff is going to happen, and it's going to lead to somebody having to stop Wanda, and maybe Doctor Strange is the only. Yeah, maybe Spider-Man kind of gets caught in it, which is what's going to happen in the events of his film that we're going to see, and then it's going to come down to Doctor Strange to finally put the kibosh on all the shit that she's doing. Who really knows? But I mean,
or her dad,
or Captain Marvel. I want to see the two of them throw down.
I don't think it'll be her dad. Captain Marvel. Well, yeah. There's no rumor of Captain Marvel being in either of the next two movies, though.
No, I'm just saying that'd be awesome, given the history between like her and Monica with her mom, and then like this whole thing, part of the two strongest fucking like characters we have. That'd be a wild ass fight.
Could be, and we could see Monica develop powers at some point over the course of this show in the next 4 episodes. It could happen. Yeah. I personally don't think it will. I think that's something they're going to want to save for the films, but it could happen.
It could set up. It could start setting up, yeah.
Or maybe we'll see that first little taste of Monica's powers at some point. Maybe she'll do something by accident. Because we saw, Captain Marvel do this when she was fighting what's his name early on in her film. The powers just kind of get away from her a little bit. Maybe we'll see something like that. Like nobody will expect it. She'll go to throw a punch or react to something, and some kind of crazy lightning bolt will fly out of her hands. Who the hell knows? But
right.
Yeah, that's the theory anyway. But when the director is trying to make his point as just how dangerous Wanda can be, he pulls up a very interesting bit of closed-circuit TV footage, and that is Wanda breaking into the Sword facility and stealing Vision's corpse. Now, I'm going full screen with this one because that is a big scene.
I immediately saw that and I go, Aaron was right. From last week.
Well,
he goes, she's animated,
technically,
his dead body.
Technically, yes. She took his body, but I'm just like, yeah, but like we were talking about in the comics too, like doesn't he kind of get rebuilt at some point? But it's not all him anymore, because that's what happens. When you rip a fucking.
Idea.
When you rip a goddamn stone out of his head like that, like they were trying to do it right when they were in Wakanda. They were trying to do this the right way without like killing him or messing anything up. So, that kind of probably fries your circuits, pardon the pun. So he's also just kind of thrown into this mix of not knowing, because I'm jumping ahead here, where he said like I don't remember anything past my history in this town. Like he really just doesn't know.
Yeah. But
he's lost.
I don't think that Aaron's wrong or right. I think what this tells us is that Wanda did not bring the Vision that we knew back to life. The Vision that we know is dead. The one that was killed by Thanos in Wakanda is gone. He even says in one, I think it was the last episode, or maybe it was this episode. No, it was this episode. And they were having it out. I don't have any memories.
Oh man, that was tense.
I don't have any memories before Westview.
Yeah.
So I think I think what happened is she didn't bring him back to life. She grabbed his body and then put a life back in it with the memories and stuff that maybe the memories that she wanted him to have, or maybe just gave him life and just put whatever spell on him to make sure that to at least hope that he never asked questions.
Just led him on to a way that he would at least kind of fall in line with her.
Says he loves her.
Yeah,
hoping that he's aware of his powers.
Yeah, hoping that he would just
could
not
have made him
figure
immortal, but she didn't.
Yeah,
well, the interesting thing about the dog too, they were like, the kids were just all of a sudden like, "Mom, you can bring people back," and I'm like, "What? The fuck are you? When did you see that happen?"
Don't get too far ahead. We're gonna get to that.
I'm just saying. I'm just like, wait, these kids. Okay, kids say the darndest things.
We're definitely gonna get to that because I think that is a very, very significant scene. And actually, that's one of the next scenes I want to get to. Is let's see, make sure I get the right pictures up here. When the dog comes into the game here, you go back to this little holodeck hex fantasy, and the twins have found a dog that they're trying to convince Wanda and Vision to let them keep. Now, this is where things get weird, because for the second time in this episode, these kids seem to be in control of their own growth. Because while trying to make excuses in a very sitcom, very 90-ish sitcom kind of way, the kids decide that, oh, well, if we can't have a dog until we're 10 years old, we're just going to go ahead and grow up from 5, 6 years old to 10 years old. And then they seem to grow up right in front of everybody, including Agnes. And Agnes, once again, after witnessing the kids grow from infants to, toddlers, did not seem to notice what was going on. Much like she doesn't seem to notice that Wanda, with a little bit of a flick of the wrist, just appears a dog collar in her hand out of nowhere. All this happens right in front of Agnes, and Agnes doesn't seem to even know what's going on.
My point was going to be, I'm like, well, the first time we saw that happen was when Agnes was with the kids. So I thought, did she just do something? Like, because all of a sudden now they're like 5 years old. I'm like, wait a minute. She was left with the kids for that long, and all of a sudden, boom. But now, yeah, I'm like, I don't know if, again, that's just because I'm trying to get ahead. Because I'm like, well, remember when they bring the drone in, she's able to kind of censor things. Maybe she's like trying to keep a veil over her. She doesn't just notice, like, oh, boom. Here's a dog collar. All my kids are suddenly now 5 years older. Yeah,
it does. But they definitely seem to be in control of it themselves, because they look at each other and they give them that look like, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and grow up right now. And then it happens.
Right.
And even Vision questions this. And that's what leads to the first significant confrontation between Vision and Wanda. He's starting to really question some things. And this is before he has this little conversation with his coworker later on in this episode that we're going to get to. He very much says this is not happening the way that it's supposed to be happening. This stuff is happening in front of somebody. We said we were going to hide our powers. She has already had her little weird line flub in the beginning. Vision's starting to really take to heart some of the craziness that he's seeing. So we see the first real confrontation they have when he points all this stuff out. What do you guys think of that? Because this was, despite being kind of wrapped in this 90s sitcom kind of humorous situation, it's pretty tense. And you can see it right there in Vision's face that it's starting to get the best of him a little bit.
Well, every episode he has progressively been more and more uncomfortable with small things. And it seems more and more prevalent in this episode. The fact that he is doing things like levitating and not going, how did I do that? There's a certain amount of self-awareness about who he was before Westview, but he just doesn't have all the memories. And I'm wondering if somehow the memories are there, she somehow blocked access to them, and he's slowly getting them back against her will.
Because she is the one that grabbed him, so maybe she's got some sort. Well, because remember, and it is tense, and it's very well played. And I was actually kind of like audibly making that noise, like, oh god, because they're going at each other, and he does, like, when it does boil over, because like I said, it is building up to this where he's starting to, because now he can't do it anymore. He's like, oh, I gotta talk about this, and he does like fucking scream at her, like, you don't get to make these decisions for me. Like, he's like, that's. I was like, I feel for him. Like, that's fucked up. Like, because
it's
who
like
else
all of a
is she
sudden
doing
he
that
realizes he's one of her puppets.
Yeah, and he didn't appreciate that.
Yeah, he doesn't like the way that feels.
He's because I'm like, is he really not one of the, like you're about to talk about with the coworker? Is like he not in the same kind of trance? Because he seems to be like more aware, but like not in like the way that they are. You know what I mean? Like they're just kind of like the NPCs, just going about the conversations in the day. But
well, look at the moment right when Monica was kicked out of the bubble, and she goes, "Oh, she left," and then all of a sudden, let's watch TV, and he puts his arm around her. There was no like.
Well, no, remember, he did, I swear, I meant to go back and watch. He did kind of make like he felt really awkward for a second. Like he made this kind of like reluctant, like look, and then it, maybe just for the sake of like, oh, this is what you'd see, happy ending to the sitcom. They're smiling on the couch and they're having fun. Because, I mean, remember, he does say.
Or maybe you guys haven't worked up to the point he is at now quite yet.
Because, well, when I saw that again, my point was like, did he not see Monica go out the fucking front door? I'm like maybe he did. Like, wait, maybe he did because he walked in because he was like, what happened? Maybe maybe that was his first little trying to probe her, and then she said, "Oh no, she had to go," and he was like, "Oh."
Behind him. Because the way the layout is, the front door, and he and the neighbors were to the left, with the side of the house behind him that Monica was blown through. But it happened so fast. I'm assuming he didn't see it when he was outside.
I thought she like threw her right out the front. That front.
No,
Right between
it was
him
to
and the
the left.
neighbors.
No.
Okay.
It was behind them. So, because they were facing the road-ish, and his back was turned to where Monica was flying out.
Well, it's
okay.
I think that she shoots her out the front of the house. The angle from where the door is.
She did too.
Now, if you actually go back and watch,
door was behind her.
But if you actually go back and watch the scene, when it actually shows her throwing her out of the hex,
that living room wall,
it looks like she's going through it looks like she's going through the side of the house when you're following her getting thrown through the walls. But still, I'm like, you're just from the angles, it looks like that was the wall that they were standing on when he was talking to Agnes and his other neighbor. So you'd still want to think that out of their peripheral vision, it'd have been like, what the hell was that black lady flying through the fucking house?
Unless she has enough control over the scenario,
that's what I'm saying.
Them from seeing it.
Yeah, she may have just kind of rewound it a little bit, the jump cut. And even if they didn't see it, I mean, even they could have heard that and been like, what the fuck was that?
I think it's just one of those things we just have to chalk it up to suspension of disbelief. We just have to assume that there was an angle that they didn't see or hear it. That's what I'm going to say. It's
and again, she could have just.
It's not like Marvel.
She can censor any part of the show she wants. So like that's the thing is, she could just kind of like jump cutted that back and just been like, played off the conversation of she had to leave.
Yeah, and so I don't know, whatever. I'm just going to go ahead and write that one off. It's just another plot hole in a Marvel property because there's so many plot holes anyway. But now we move on to them trying to brainstorm ways to get back into the hex without being under the crazy spell that Wanda and or somebody else has put them under. They do finally realize that some kind of period-specific tech may be the key to getting in. Now, they realize that if you can use some kind of a tech or some kind of equipment that doesn't need to be changed very much, that you tend to have better luck. So basically what they do is they build a drone out of some like analog 80s tech, and because they figure that everything needs to get changed to something that is suitable for the time period as it crosses through that boundary, that shield. So they decide to just try to go a little low tech, a little lo-fi, try to work that out. But this is the scene where we get one of these lines that just pours gas on the fire of fan speculation. So they're sitting there and they're going over the stuff, and where am I at? I think I went past my notes on this one. Give me just a second. Yeah, they're brainwashing to get back in the hex, and this is when she says, "I have a mechanical engineer or something to that effect that can help out there." And this is fueled rampant speculation. It's like they obviously never say who the engineer is. There's all kinds of speculation as to who this is going to be. A lot of people are saying Reed Richards. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, you talked about that before when we were guessing.
Yeah.
Guess person is.
Well, this is one of the things.
He would show up and help Darcy or somehow.
Well, this line has caused a lot of speculation because a lot of people are saying, "Who is this tech? Who are one of these people that could possibly build something to help them get through the shield without suffering the effects of whatever is being done to anybody who goes through it?" There's really not that many people, at least that have been introduced already in the MCU.
But who's to say that in the 80s the military didn't have some type of prototype for a drone that didn't quite work, but they
just had it laying around,
reactivated it with one new chip.
Right.
I don't know.
I thought that I watched it and thought it was an actual 80s drone prototype.
Yeah, I thought they just had it laying around or something.
Yeah, they could have
hey, let's use this.
They could have just gutted out one of their drones and put some like analog tech in it. I don't think that would be the hardest thing in the world for them to do.
Nah.
But the main thing, there's two things that really came out of the scene. One is the fact that they wanted to use some kind of older tech to try to see what was going on inside Westview. The other is this line.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this line about an engineer. Now, you have to imagine there's only a few people that are smart enough to build some shit like this that have already been introduced to the MCU. One of them is Tony Stark, and we don't think he's available right now. At least not yet. I'm 100% sure he will be at some point, but I don't think he's available to them right now. The other one is Shuri. She may or may not be helpful. I don't know what the connection is between Sword and Shuri. Maybe they have some working relationship. Maybe they don't. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
You're talking about Jersey and Wakanda. It's a pretty I mean, she gave him a phone call and was like, "Hey, here's what you gotta do."
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. But again, if this is only 3 weeks after the snap, then Shuri has only been back in Wakanda for 3 weeks. So maybe she doesn't really have the time right now to go dealing with something that Sword needs over in the U.S. I don't really know. It's possible. But other than that, there's just not a whole lot of people. Well, maybe Professor Hulk. Maybe. Could be Banner. Who knows?
That's true.
Those are the only people I can think of that really have that
Or what
level
if it's just
of
some
intelligence.
random guy who works for Stark Industries?
I don't think it would be a random guy. Oh, okay. Timeline-wise, there could be.
Wait a minute. Hold on. When Darcy was in the van, wasn't she kind of like, "Oh, look, we got the whole car full of people"? Was it one of those guys? Because they all had a different area of expertise. It could just literally be like, "Hey,
no, I don't think.
Like, hey, we happen to have happen to have someone who can help."
No, I'm not saying it's one of them. However, timeline-wise, there is somebody who's Stark affiliated that could have done this.
Okay.
You never know.
Do you want to share with the class?
Could be Mysterio. Could be. Because this actually...
Timeline-wise...
No. Timeline that fits. You want to know why? This takes place 3 weeks after everyone gets snapped back. The events of WandaVision take place before the events of Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yeah.
So it could be. I don't think it is. That's an interesting theory, but I don't think it is.
From Stark Industries.
No, she mentions one engineer specifically.
So you're thinking it's going to be revealed later?
I think it'll be revealed later.
I don't know what his...
It's somebody that doesn't matter. And they're
I don't know if his
explaining it.
motivations would really...
Yeah, if it was somebody that didn't matter, I don't think they would have put so much emphasis on that line.
One line, though. They didn't even give it a name.
That's why they put emphasis on the line. Trust me, they don't do anything by accident.
I agree with Jeremy on this one.
No, it just could be. I'm not saying you're wrong, and I wouldn't be upset if it was just somebody important. I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe we are reading too much into it, but I do agree with you. Like, yeah, they don't do shit on accident. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm doing the conversation with Wu and the director. I'm kind of like, yeah, but also this, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that line's pretty interesting. I don't know. I don't think it's anybody we've seen so far. I think it's somebody that will probably be revealed in some way, shape, or form. It could be that surprise cameo that's coming up at some point in the next 4 episodes.
PC Dude wrote, what about Green Goblin?
Yeah, it could be Oz. Yeah, this might not be a bad time to bring in Oscorp. That's a valid theory.
True.
So yeah, Osborn, that wouldn't be too far outside the realm of possibility. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Being Jake Gyllenhaal's character from Far From Home, I doubt it. I doubt it's him. But time-wise it fits because they've already established that this does take place before the events of Spider-Man Far From Home. So I don't know. There's a whole lot of things going on with that. But the next significant scene that we see comes at Vision's work, and in this scene we see. Obviously, we're at Vision's office. His co-workers are obviously making jabs at him about being smart as a computer, yada, yada, yada. And Vision sees an email that somehow, and I still don't know how it happened, an email that Darcy sends about the Maximoff anomaly that has somehow been sent to a early 90s or maybe even late 80s computer that Vision sees, and it pretty clearly states what's going on in here. And she talks about the Maximoff anomaly. Now, there's a couple of questions that I get from this email. One is, who did she send this email to? Was it an internal email? I don't remember exactly. I can't quite remember on that picture.
Because what I thought was like the immediate... I'm pretty sure the immediate thing they said right before that was, what if we send something that didn't need to be changed? And that's what popped up. I'm like, oh, well, okay, we're going to use the tech of that time because that would get through and it would get through to them.
But was she sending that to Vision?
Because they're watching the show, right? They're watching it happen, so they're like, "Wait, send it to that computer right now." They can get it through because they got through on the radio.
Oh,
could be.
You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, I could see that.
But I don't recall the message being addressed to Vision, though. That's the thing. Maybe she'd have said,
"No," but
hey,
they
Vision,
knew he was there. they were trying to get his attention, probably, like, because they already reached out to Wanda, and now they're like, well, here, send it. Plus, like, what else would they really think of? Like, okay, what could we send that's at this time period that would work? Like, I don't know, they could have called an office phone there or something, or, you know, the whole point is like, shit, they're watching this through like a little tube TV, or maybe, I don't know if they have to keep updating the TV to the times too, because, you know, who knows?
Well, and on top of that, it seems like everybody gets this email, because as Vision is starting to read it, everybody in the office is starting to repeat it word for word. So
maybe she just sent it out to all of them to make sure he saw it.
Yeah, maybe it was something that she just sent out kind of broadly to everybody, hoping that it would get to Vision, not specifically trying to put it in front of Vision's eyes, but just sent it out to everybody with one of those old computers, hoping that one of them would be Vision.
Yeah,
possible.
And it was a weird email to begin with too.
Yeah, it doesn't
really made Vision go, what?
Yeah, because he's like, who the hell's
unlocking a door in his memory or his awareness and took a little bit of the spell away.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, didn't he ask her what the Maximoff anomaly is? I'm like, did he not know who she is? Because wouldn't that have clicked like, oh, that's her name?
I don't think he knows her last name. I think he's calling her Wanda.
Well, again, I think it's pretty clear at this point that Vision has not been brought back to life. He's been given a new life, and the only memories he has is what's taking place in Westview.
And some type of background that he's married to her and is in love with her.
Whatever she put into his head.
Whatever memories and knowledge she hand chose to put into his head. So I don't know. There's still a whole lot going on right now that hasn't been answered. But
it's the whole ghosts in the machine thing. Something's in there that's like catching his eye, and it's like, wait.
Yeah, but it does lead to Vision using his abilities to take his friend Norm and to kind of clear his head from whatever is going on in the hex, from whatever spell he's under. And he obviously goes into a bit of a panic mode. Finally free of all this, he asks a bunch of questions. He seems to know who Vision is, so maybe he's retaining the fact that Vision is not a bad guy. He's retaining some knowledge that the memories of what he's seeing when he's under the spell. But he starts asking questions like, what day is it? How long has it been? And then he says, you have to stop her. She's in my head.
Again, and it hurts. It is so painful.
Yeah, and
that's what jars him, because it's not so much the illusion, it's causing people pain. I think that's what makes him so mad.
And because who else does he know that has powers? The only person he would think of would be Wanda, and he's kind of like shook and like, oh God, is she doing
that's the only person
is she doing this to everybody?
It's the only person.
Yeah, that's the only person. So I'm thinking like, well, maybe it isn't him. Maybe it is Agnes.
Because one of the things.
But I'm just like, it could be anybody.
One of the things I found interesting about all this so far is the only person that's actually named Wanda as the one responsible for doing anything is Monica when she gets thrown out. But that's all Monica knows. Monica and the people at S.H.I.E.L.D. probably don't know what we kind of figure out watching all this, that there's somebody or something else involved.
Right.
So while she thinks it's Wanda that's responsible for everything, they in the town who keep referring to her as her is the one, she is the one doing this, maybe they're not talking about Wanda. Maybe they are talking about,
that's what I'm saying.
Or whatever.
There's a subversion, expectation subversion where they're just like, oh, we're playing the pronoun game because that's our favorite game. Yeah. Like, oh, it's her doing this to us. I'm like, I could believe it. Well, because didn't he even say that to her? He's like, I really want to believe you, but like, I'm not about to run the numbers right now or some shit. Where he's like, I want to believe you, but
the numbers don't lie or something like that.
But I can't ignore the fact that the only person I could think of right now would be you, because he doesn't. I mean, again, he seriously lost his shit. He has no idea. So that's the only person he could really pin it on.
If he didn't observe the thing about her reviving the dog.
Did she revive the dog though? Because I know they were talking about it.
Well,
I'm just saying him hearing that comment.
Yeah, but the knowledge.
Well, because that was funny, because like the little I catch these little things where they're like, oh, bring them back, and he says, bring who back? Who was the first person who says bring who back? It was fucking Vision, even though they're talking about the dog. I'm like, yeah. And he kind of realizes, oh, boys, I'm sorry about the dog. Shit,
Yeah, there's definitely a whole lot of questions that we're asking the scheme, but you can look, and again, it's one of those looks on Vision's face where, you guys can see it in the picture on the bottom, where he is clearly troubled by everything that is becoming clearer to him. And
something's coming back to him.
It does lead up to another situation that we see later on in the episode, right before one of the big surprises that comes up. But then at one point they decide to go ahead, and as we mentioned earlier, they build this drone out of some '80s tech that they try to send into the hex to get some answers. Now,
you called it the hex.
Yeah, I've called it the hex.
I had to. You called it the hex.
I really like calling it. I really like calling it the holodeck, but I mean the hex just seems to work better. And
I mean, come on. Kat Dennings said it, and she seemed excited.
And Kat Dennings is one of my celebrity crushes, so I'll say anything Kat Dennings tells me to say. But
right.
At this point, Sword decides to go ahead and go through the plan. They send in this drone using this '80s tech. Now they send it in, and they finally get a picture of Wanda, and it's about the time that they start looking for this dog. And Wanda was not happy. Wanda does something that this is one of the two jaw-dropping parts of this episode that really blew me away.
I was on the edge of my fucking seat. I was like, oh no,
I thought for sure she was going to go out there and wreck shop. I was just like, Jesus Christ,
right.
Wanda's going to legit kill some people right now. I really thought it was going to come to that. I was surprised that it didn't. But Wanda ends up doing whatever voodoo that she does, and she ends up kind of snapping this drone out of the sky. Now, once they lose contact with the drone, something happens between these two times that we need to talk about. As it becomes clear that Wanda is not going to be very receptive to the message they're trying to get through to her, the Sword director has decided to, without the knowledge of Monica, put a weapon on board to maybe take her out and eliminate the threat if she doesn't want to come peacefully. So
That's
while
cute.
she wouldn't sense a weapon.
While she's not agreeing to
she was kind of looking at it like, wait a fucking second, like this ain't right.
Like, wait a minute.
Plus, that would have just tickled her at best. She would have been like, okay, guys.
I can imagine it probably wouldn't have done much to her anyway. But he gives orders to fire whatever weapon is on board on this drone to try to take out Wanda and eliminate the threat. This clearly does not work, except pissing Wanda off. That's all this really does, is it pushes Wanda kind of past a certain point. So Wanda herself decides to walk out of the hex and confront the people at Sword.
And by the way, this is the first time for me that I've seen her in her quote-unquote normal Wanda outfit.
Oh, hell yeah.
Scarlet Witch kind of clothing.
You know what? It threw off so much her accent came back. I was like, oh, wait a minute. There it is.
That is
everyone's asking about that, and I was like, well, I kind of thought about it, and when I saw this for sure, I was like, oh, well, this is her. But I'm like, oh, for the sake of, like, the sitcom and shit, like, it's obviously like an American... these different eras of American television, so she wouldn't have the accent. That's how she's playing it.
Well, that's something a lot of people have been talking about. I think we mentioned before, is that her accent has kind of gone away over the course of her involvement, this character's growth in the MCU. But I did notice, and I don't remember if I brought it up or not, that when Monica brings up Pietro for the first time in that scene right after the babies were born, I mean, she had started. It sounded like when she was singing that lullaby, a little bit of her accent come back, and then once she mentions Pietro being killed by Ultron, Monica does. It seemed like from that point on, Wanda's accent had come back a little bit, kind of like the old Wanda had kind of taken over for just a moment. So,
well, yeah, I mean, because when she walked back out there, she definitely had it. Like, she's like, "Is this yours?"
Yeah, it's very, very true. But
this is your only warning. I'm like, oh Jesus Christ.
She definitely gets kind of pissed off, and she goes out there, and like I said, I thought for sure she was going to kill a handful of people when she rolled out there because she was not in a very.
Oh yeah.
But it does seem like there is some kind of a rapport that has been built. Maybe not a good one right now, certainly shaky, but some kind of a rapport that has been built between her and Monica. Because Monica tries to go out there and talk to her. Now, while it seems that she's a bit receptive, she's to at least to Monica trying to talk to her, she's obviously very clearly not one to give an inch on what she wants out of this whole hex, out of this whole holodeck fantasy she's built for herself. So she very sternly says, after in a very badass, flexy kind of move, walking out with dragging the drone and throwing it at their damn feet, which I thought was awesome.
I thought she was gonna just I take 3 or 4 from Mal. I kind of winced when she threw it. I was like, oh, okay, she didn't. Whew, she had me going. I'm telling you what.
Yeah, I thought for sure she was going to walk in there and kill some people, but it ended up not being a violent thing. I was almost kind of disappointed that she didn't, because I was like, that would totally fit in everything we've seen from Wanda at this point.
Oh, no, when she turned to soldiers on the fucking director, I thought, oh, Jesus, she's about to just walk away and just, like, give a little hand gesture and just take them all out.
You know, one of the things I found very interesting about that, now, what Jeremy's talking about is after that. I mean, the whole time, and you can see it in the picture that's on the screen, the whole time Wanda's talking to him, everybody's got their laser sights from their guns pointed directly at Wanda. I mean, if they pull the trigger, she's getting worked on, I guess. If she's not
no.
But
I'm like, what's that gonna do?
Well, obviously she's in their sights.
But you know that they're worried about if something happens to her, what happens to everybody inside.
True. But one of the badass moments is when she pulls a very Magneto kind of move. And do you guys remember in, I think it was it the second X-Men? That Magneto kind of takes all the guns away from the cops that were surrounding him and turns them around and points the guns at him. That scene right there reminded me a lot of that scene. So when she kind of takes over their brains and has them all,
to her dad, then
it was an homage, not to her dad, to that scene that Magneto pulls off in the X-Men. I thought it was an homage to the scene, not to her dad. I really don't think that Magneto's going to be her dad in the MCU. I think that it's made very clear very early on her parents were killed in Sokovia. That's the whole thing that set her and her brother down this path anyway of wanting to of allowing them to be experimented on with the stone. So I think her parents are dead. I don't know if Magneto will be a father figure to her at some point in the future. That's a possibility, but I don't think he's going to be her straight up be her father. I think this scene was just an homage to that scene. Kind of a little psychic wink to some of the fans who were kind of eagle-eyed about things like that. But it was a very badass scene where she does this little thing and makes them all point their guns at the director. I thought that was badass as hell. And then after she does that, she seems to reinforce or strengthen or have some kind of an effect on the shield itself.
Yeah, she did something to it before she walked in.
Yeah, she does. She walks up to it and then, I don't know, waves her magic hands, does some shit, and I don't know exactly what she does, but she does something to strengthen or alter the shield. Now, I don't know if that necessarily is meant to keep anybody else from coming in, but I mean, we're probably going to see later on what kind of an effect that was supposed to have.
Well, maybe she was away for a bit. Maybe she was just trying to like do a little hard reset on some stuff, you know. Places everybody, you know.
Yeah, but
stand on your marks.
I don't know, but when she does go back in, you know what? The interesting thing about that whole scene where she makes everything red is there is one of the promos that came out in the last couple of weeks actually shows a tank-like car. I'm guessing the one that the engineer builds. Actually driving up to and getting ready to drive through the shield, and the shield is red. So we're going to, at some point in the next 4 episodes, going to see that car that the mysterious engineer builds in action. It's actually in one of the promos. So we're going to see that at some point. But going back into the Hex, she goes back to the situation she's been dealing with her 2 sons. And the dog has apparently gotten into some kind of a plant in Agnes's front yard and has eaten something that is poisonous to us, poisonous to the dog. I forget what kind of flower she said it was. It's a flower I had never known to be azaleas. I have never known the leaves of an azalea to be poisonous to dogs. They very well could be. If you're in the chat, you know something about plants and their effects on dogs. By all means, go in there and let me know. But yeah, so this dog gets into this bush, eats some of these leaves, and apparently has died, and Agnes has found the dog. So when these kids and Wanda are out looking for the dog, they come across Agnes, who, at first they walk up on this bush that's shaking, and there's a couple things about this scene that are a little weird to me. And then Agnes just kind of slowly steps up out of the bush with the dog wrapped in a towel or a blanket or something like that. I kind of wonder, did the dog actually eat something that was poisonous by accident, or did Agatha, or not Agatha, I'm sorry, we don't know that she's Agatha yet, or did Agnes kill the dog? There's a feeling that it gives you that Agnes may have killed the dog for some reason. What do you guys think?
Well, because who the fuck keeps showing up? Who does this keep coming back to?
It had such a Bewitched vibe to it, especially with the collar thing.
That's what I was about to say. I'm like, well, I was kind of watching these, and I'm like, I think if I'm noticing it, they are kind of all shot and played out in the way those sitcoms of that era would happen. So I'm like, in the 80s, I'm like, yeah, you call attention, you look over, oh, the bush is shaking, and it's like, oh, it's the neighbor with the dog who's dead. You know what I mean? Like maybe there's just like, oh, hey, look, that could be the dog, and then you find out no, it was her, and it was actually dead. I don't know. It seems to have played out in that same style, like an '80s sitcom, where they're just out looking for the dog.
Well, and even Vision says that early on in this episode that he is anticipating somebody coming in with a well-needed item, and then as soon as he says it, Agnes comes walking through the door of the doghouse. So there is something weird about her that.
Yeah, because again, Vision's like, oh, what the fuck?
Now, again, it could just be the weird timing, because that is one of the tropes of 90s television, is the weird timing of a neighbor popping over. So it could just be one of the tropes.
Self-aware.
Yeah, it could just be one of the tropes. But there is something weird about how it's always Agnes, and it's always kind of these weird specific times.
Well, there are only so many people in most of these sitcoms, right? There's the family, and then probably maybe one of the neighbors or one of their friends, or like love interest of the kid. Well, not these kids, but like of the kids. I'm thinking of like Roseanne. I'm just like, oh, like what's her Darlene's boyfriend. I'm like, who always shows up. Maybe what I mean. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, but this next episode, we're probably going to be moving closer to that era. I know this era was mostly 80s,
90s.
I think the next will definitely be the 90s. We did see that promo. I don't know if it's going to be in the next episode or not. That promo of her kind of breaking the fourth wall a bit and talking to the camera, kind of like Modern Family. That one's probably going to be coming up in a couple episodes. I'm not exactly sure. But, and then Vision obviously walks up on him, and he becomes part of the conversation. Now, the boys say something pretty interesting about this. They say, you can fix anything, fix the dead. Agnes hears this and says, you can do that? Now, if Agnes is the one who's responsible for all this, this came as a shock to her too, which may or may not lead to what we saw in the last couple minutes of the episode, but we'll get to that in just a second. But it seemed like this statement kind of caught everybody off guard. What did you guys think?
I thought it was just like that mom trope of they're like, Mom, you can do anything. But then they dropped the, oh, well, yeah, you can bring people back from the dead.
Yeah, they specifically said fix the dead.
It was like a double take, because you think the kids are under the spell. You think they don't know what's really going on. And then they allude to know what's going on. And then you're like, well, which is it?
Well, they did say those are her kids. Like, they're like, well, wait, they were there. They're not technically part of this thing. That is her kids. So I'm like, maybe they have some weird, kind of like I said, like with Vision. I'm like, they have this weird awareness where it's not quite the same trance everyone else is in, but they're like,
yeah,
on the same page, kind of. I don't know. Maybe through a kid's eyes though, because they're only 10 years old.
True.
It almost makes me think the kids aren't being manipulated at all.
I don't know.
Well, because she was trying. It was like a trope where she was trying to teach them a lesson, because they were like, "Bring the dog back," and she's like, "No," because it's kind of coming from her too, like a real place where she's like, "No matter how sad that may make you, we can't just bring people back." It's like she knows, like, I know I didn't just completely bring Vision back the way I wanted to, but I'm like, but she was like trying to teach them a lesson about like a hardship of life.
True.
I don't know. They're playing these tropes, but in a way to the show that's kind of self-aware, and it's fucking brilliant. I'm sorry, I'm sitting here like, it's cool how they are doing this.
Oh yeah, it is. It's very cool how they're doing this. But
you fuckers out there can't appreciate it.
Yeah, no doubt you bad.
You're ungrateful sons of bitches.
But when Vision walks up on this conversation, though, it seems to him kind of be the last straw in everything that's going on. He starts hearing some of this stuff. He's spent this entire episode really kind of coming to grips internally with everything that's happening, and the fact that he needs to say something, or he needs to confront Wanda about this and not give an inch and kind of make her fess up to whatever's going on. And that leads to one of the scenes that blew my mind. When these two have their conversation, he starts pressing her on it, and she tries saying, "Oh well," in a kind of a comedic sitcom way. "Oh well, can't I control you?" And then the credits start rolling as if she was trying to force the end of this conversation onto us and Vision. And Vision wasn't fucking having it. He was not having it at all. He was really riding her ass. He was pressing her hard. And what it leads to is this confrontation right here, where they both go into a fighting stance. Make no mistake, these two squared up. They were ready to throw. For a minute, I thought they were actually going to start throwing hands on it at this point, because and, you know, I mentioned it the last episode. It may come down to Vision having to be the one that stops Wanda. It may come down to Vision versus Wanda. And this is one of the scenes that I think shows it could be a harbinger of what's coming.
But here's the problem with that, Frank. Because if she's somehow controlling him, she can just probably snap her fingers and he'll fall to the ground.
Because she does have one of the powers of the show.
But he can't actually stop her.
She doesn't want to, is the trick. Remember, part of the whole reason that she's doing all this shit is because she wants to have Vision in her life. Maybe that's actually the last thing she wants to do is snap her fingers and kill him because he's on the scam.
This is like a Mr. and Mrs. Smith kind of thing. Like, they want to kill each other, but they can't. You know what I mean? And also, I mean, is he really fully aware of his powers? Because it seems like she's still who she is. But remember, this is like kind of a, not like half-assed version of like Vision, but like, I don't know if he's really quite all there.
Well, I mean, I think his intellect and everything is there. I think that's one of the things that's allowing him to put the pieces to this thing together. But like he said, he doesn't have any memories of what happened before Westview.
If I'm saying,
so there's
if he did, he would have figured this out already.
Yeah, there's little bits of information he doesn't have that he would have had he not had the stone ripped out of his head by Thanos. So I don't know. I don't really know how that all is working, but I know that right now Vision has had it up to his ass and all this weirdness, and he confronted Wanda over it big time. Now,
I love how the credits like fizzed out when he like got pissed and came through that door. I was like, oh god, it's gonna go. And I'm also like, wait, is everyone else still seeing the credits and this is like behind the scenes? This is like a deleted scene that no one on the show sees?
That would have been interesting. If the feed to everybody out at the sword base would have cut off and this whole thing just happened between them. That would have been interesting.
Right.
But, well, I mean, we saw it. Honestly, does it even say in the episode that anybody from Sword even saw this?
I don't think so, because they went to this and then...
Now, yeah, maybe they'll mention it in the next episode that comes out Friday. But we don't know as far as this episode.
Well, then again, what we heard next, we did still hear like the audience reaction and shit, which I won't spoil it yet. We'll get there.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Darcy did see that, so you have to assume that she was watching that whole confrontation too. Okay, good point.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I'm anxious for the end of this season, but I also don't want it to go away because I know when episode 9 ends, I'm going to be like, oh.
Well, we're not going to have that long to sulk over not having anything good to watch because I think it's only 2 weeks after that Falcon and Winter Soldier starts to drop on Disney Plus. So then we'll have that to deal with as well. Which is gonna be a whole nother.
We're gonna be drinking heavily on episode 9 review.
Yeah, that's gonna be a long one. I think that may be the kind of thing where we just kind of do an overview of the entire season and then kind of build it up to whatever chaos is gonna happen in the last episode. But but after the cooler heads kind of prevail and they kind of let off the war stance that you see on the screen, they do sit down on the couch and have a little bit more of a conversation. As tense as it still was, she does say something that I thought was kind of interesting. She says, "I don't know how any of this started in the first place." So that is a clear indication that whatever is happening, she might have a part in it, but it isn't entirely her doing. And that just, again, reinforces that question we've been asking ourselves since episode 1, is who is really the other part of this thing?
If, Walter White somewhere down the line was kind of like, how the fuck did I even get to this point? You know what I mean? Like, this whole facade that has gotten so deeply layered and to the point where it is now. I'm just trying to say, like, maybe she's kind of just like, I don't even know how the fuck we got here, to be honest. Because things are starting to unravel to her a little bit, and they're starting to kind of almost out of her control a little bit. She's trying to keep it together.
But the wording is interesting, though, because she didn't say, I don't know how we got to this point. She said specifically, I don't know how any of this started in the first place.
Yeah, I guess.
So I think there's something specific in that dialogue that she's being very specific. I don't know how this started. It's like one day she just woke up and she was in Westview, and I mean, obviously she went and got Vision, but maybe.
But did she? Maybe she was being controlled somehow and went in there and got Vision. I don't know.
True, or maybe it was somebody Wanda. Who knows?
I could believe that it was in her emotional rage she went in there and fucking did that. Although I don't know, does someone have the reality stone or whatever and is maybe framing Wanda for it?
Oh no, the stones are gone at this point. The stones have been destroyed. Thanos destroyed all the stones, remember?
Well, yeah, they used them to destroy them, and then... Well, Cap put them all back, though, didn't he?
I don't know. You're getting into the whole time travel, past affecting our future,
Look,
blah blah blah. That's I intentionally don't.
You're telling me Back to the Future is bullshit.
I intentionally don't think about how all that works because it's going to make my brains melt and pour out of my ears.
I'm
just going with what the guys put together in that movie.
I'm just trying to piece it together, man. I don't know.
I'm not even trying to figure that part out. But after this very tense heart-to-heart, we come up with a rather surprising situation. Now, the doorbell rings, and they're having this conversation, and Vision says, "You're the one doing all this. This has got to be you." And then the doorbell rings, and she goes, "I didn't do that." Well, who did do that? Well, folks,
the architect behind all this.
Because that is genuine.
But
Wanda, I really think she told somebody to set this up and let her be kind of dumb to some of this stuff so she could get lost in it. And I think Agnes is part of that group.
I think.
Well, and also in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, the doorbell rang, and I'm kind of like, well, I know even though he said, well, we're trying to keep our powers a secret. I'm like, Vision didn't just immediately like switch back, because if he even thought, wait, that's a natural thing that happened, he didn't just immediately switch back. He's just like, wait, trying to keep. They looks like a normal person.
Well, I'm going to tell you guys something that I knew already. I didn't know if you guys knew or not, and I was intentionally not mentioning it because I didn't know if it was going to come up. Evan Peters, who you see on the screen now, it was reported that he was going to be a part of the show 6 months ago. It was not reported what he was going to be playing until about the time episode 1 was dropping. That he was going to be playing a version of Wanda's brother. Now, nobody said that was going to be Quicksilver, and knowing what we knew before the show, before episode 1 had officially dropped, we didn't know if he was going to be playing just a brother to her, or Quicksilver, or Pietro, or whatever. Now, when she opens the door, her reaction is one thing. Her reaction was fantastic. But as the camera pans around the back of his head, and you see the gray and black hair, that is my first moment where I'm like, holy shit. I already at this point am still reeling from the whole scene of those two squaring up in the living room. My heart was still palpitating from that. But when I see the back of his head and I'm like, wait a minute, what? Are you kidding me? Now, I knew then it was going to be Evan Peters. It wasn't going to be Aaron Taylor Johnson who played Quicksilver in Age of Ultron. Because like I said,
come on, that was.
Stories. But
that was funny as fuck. She recast him.
It did not take any of the shock away from this moment. Already kind of having known about this stuff from reading some of the articles and some of the stuff in the trades. But still, I was just like, holy shit, this cannot be real. But this does lead to an interesting question, and I want to go back to the scene with the dog and Agnes for a minute. When Agnes seems surprised to hear the boys say, "You can fix the dead." She is the one that says, "You can do that?" So maybe she could read Wanda's mind, and knowing that Wanda had a brother, she's going to fool Wanda into thinking that she manifested her brother back to life in some form, in the form of Evan Peters from who played, of course, Quicksilver in the X-Men stuff. I don't know. There's so much to digest about him showing up. What do you guys think?
Is this maybe the joke of the multiverse? Because I'm like, that doesn't look like him.
I don't think so.
Last time we saw him.
I don't think so. I don't think the multiverse has anything to do with this, with what's going on right now.
Well, because I'm like, this is obviously not the same. I'm like, well, just now we have him. She did seem genuinely surprised. But I'm like, I don't know what it means, because like she said, like she was just kind of shocked that he was there.
Well, that's what I was about to say. It seemed like
in what capacity is he there? Yeah, what is he doing?
It seemed like Agnes was surprised.
I want answered in episode 6.
But it seems like that Agnes was surprised when the kid said, "You can fix the dead," and she says, "You can do that." So maybe if Agnes is wired into her head in a way that she knows that Pietro has died, without maybe Wanda telling her specifically that her brother was killed. She says, "Oh, wait a minute! I'm just going to have him in some form knock on her door and just be there." Because one of the things that's interesting about this not being Aaron Taylor Johnson's version of the character is that Agnes has never met Pietro. So I don't think this is the Quicksilver from the X-Men universe. I think this is a bit of a really awesome, mind-blowing Easter egg. A little more fan service than a lot of people want to realize that it is. I think that this is what Now, if this is the case that Agnes is the other person that is responsible for what's going on, I think that Agnes is the one who puts him out there like this as just kind of the version that she envisions of Pietro and not Wanda's specific memories of Pietro. That's why,
because she did say that, and she's like, "Well, I didn't do that." Like, so that wasn't her that brought him there. And I think the interesting point is, it kind of, again, it still kind of hurts. Remember, she was talking with the kids. She's like, "Oh, you guys are always be brothers," and they're like, "Mom, do you have a brother?" And she just kind of went, "Yes."
she did say
he's
yes.
far away. That still plays into it because she didn't really lie to him then, because there he is. Because she's like, "Yeah, I have a brother. He's just somewhere far away." Boom, there he is, so to speak. You know, I was like, "Oh my fucking god, what?" I fell out of my chair.
Yeah, I was a little blown away by what all this was happening, and of course he says some funny lines. I mean, the episode closes with him pointing at Vision.
Get a bro, get a hug,
and saying, "Who's the popsicle?" Right. the who's the popsicle thing I thought was funny.
Who's the popsicle? He's definitely got like that. He's definitely that Fonzie character. He's got the leather jacket and he's got the little zingers. Maybe that's what that joke was. I don't know.
Yeah, he's definitely kind of that character. He is kind of the. I think somebody referred to him as the Uncle Jesse character.
I was gonna say that'd be true. Yeah, that'd be more true.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he could be Uncle Fonzie, whatever.
Yeah, Gorilla in the chat says, if that's the case, how would she know who he was when she opened the door if that wasn't her version? I think that Wanda is not the only one the other people are not the only ones that are the victim of illusions. I think Wanda is in part a victim of all this. And because
she has to be. I really think there's somebody she hired to create this.
I don't think she hired. I think she's being
used.
Keep
my powers. If I look like I'm in trouble, send in my brother, but I don't want to know it's coming.
I think
again, Agnes was like, "I'm sorry, do you want me to do that again?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just saying. It's gotta be her.
I really think that whoever is a part of this, I don't think it was set up by Wanda. I think, like I said, Agnes's reaction to the kid saying you can fix death, and maybe for the first time hearing in that moment that when she says I have a brother and they say where is I have a brother, she talks about him in the present tense like he's not dead. So maybe if Agnes is hearing this and she's the one responsible in part for what's happening in Westview and this whole thing with the Hex, then maybe she doesn't know that Pietro is dead. I don't know. She says, "Oh, well, Wanda just said she has a brother. He is alive. I'm going to go ahead and create this illusion of Pietro knocking on the door." And because she doesn't know what Pietro actually looks like, she just kind of puts together her own version of Pietro, and it shows up in this form of Evan Peters' Pietro and not Aaron Taylor Johnson's. That's maybe. I don't know. I'm kind of spitballing here because I don't have any of the answers yet either.
Maybe it is
say
like
real quick. Pietro's is the name of a pizza place in my home area where I grew up. So whenever you say his fucking name, I think of pizza. And now I want to eat pizza. So,
well, remember he's
not.
WandaVision.
She walks in, is like, "Can you give me that Quicksilver? What? Just give me a pizza, man. You know what I mean?"
Well, yeah, they never refer to him as Quicksilver. Yeah, in the MCU, they don't refer to him as Quicksilver, so everyone knows him as Pietro.
So
I don't even think they've actually referred to her as Scarlet Witch either. I think that's something that hasn't really been done yet, but maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's kind of like what Cora said. Like, maybe my thought now was just like, maybe I'm just gonna I'm full sending with Agnes here. I'm sorry, but maybe she's that person who came to her because, like I said, Wanda did not get a happy ending even after all this shit was quote unquote fixed with taking care of Thanos and all that and snapping everybody back. So maybe she reached out to her. It's like that deal where she's like, "Look, I can give you what you want. I can give you this happy ending, this happy little world you want to be in." You know what I mean? And she probably kind of was like, yeah, emotionally driven again to just be like, "Yeah, sure, that'd be nice." Because she was like, because when she came out to them, she's like, "Don't be fucking with my shit right now. Like, this is mine, and you guys aren't taking this shit from me." That's all she wanted.
What if there's a bigger person that we don't know yet? Like Frank made reference to someone that could be Agnes's husband, who is the actual architect, and Agnes is, quote, in character in there to keep an eye on things and try to handle things when things come up. and to help guide Wanda so Wanda can stay within this delusion and enjoy what's made for her.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, someone may have approached her and said, like, look, I can do this for you then.
Yeah.
So you
but
kind of got
Agnes is
screwed.
the
But-
mole
but for
that's
what, though?
in character, but is aware.
But for what?
Because she
though?
was shutting down the neighbor, the black guy. She was kind of like, hey, shut.
But yeah, when
don't
she
blow
was
this
shutting
right
him
now.
up, though, she looked scared. Like if she, and this could be part of the part of her scheme, part of her trying to keep her cover. But she does when she looks at him and tells him to shut up. She looks frightened. Like if this gets out, it's going to negatively impact us both, and we're both going to get hurt. That I don't really know. Like I said, I don't. It's really hard to tell because there are times where she looks like a victim. And like I was saying, this promo that came out just a couple of days ago for this upcoming episode, when Vision does his little Vulcan mind meld or whatever and takes her out of the hex, out from under the spell, she looks at him and says, "Am I dead?" So and he says, "No. Why would you?"
Yeah.
She goes, "Because you're dead." And so like I said, I don't know if she is one of the victims, but if she's playing along to get along, I don't know. It's really hard to know right now.
Because who are these people? Because they said, like, you've kidnapped an entire town. They're like, you've got all these people, like, by the balls, man.
You know,
So some of
And
them,
she didn't
like,
care. That's
Yeah,
just
'cause
so selfish. She's like,
Yeah.
she didn't react to that at all. Like,
Well,
almost
again, I
like
know-
she didn't know.
I get it. She kind of, man, she had a hell of a life, but I'm just like, that's kind of fucked up what you're doing. You know,
Yeah, it is.
just because you still want to be happy, it's not like this is a good or the right way to do it. Like, that's not the good thing to be doing. Just for your own happiness, man. Like, all these other people got to suffer now.
Yeah, Gorilla Strong in the chat keeps saying Dormammu. There's validity to that. It wouldn't entirely shock me, but I don't think Dormammu is going to come in now. I think he could probably be a part of the completion of this whole arc in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I think that's very plausible because remember, Dormammu doesn't die at the end of the first Doctor Strange movie. He is basically just run off by Doctor Strange. So he's still out there. I don't know that it's him doing this, though. Valid. It's a valid theory. I don't think it's him doing it. He said it could be Dormammu and Mephisto working together. That's possible.
Maybe it's
but again,
Galactus. You don't know.
I think it's too early for Galactus. I don't think Galactus... Honestly, this seems too small for Galactus. He's the eater of worlds. Why would he mess around...
That's what I mean.
Why would he mess around in some town in Jersey when he can just eat the world?
Yeah, but he's like a cosmic fucking... I mean, this dude is fucking, we're talking about things that are like the power of the universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think he would
I
mess
don't know.
around with some town in New Jersey when he could just swallow the whole planet. I think it's.
But he's got the power to, is what I'm saying.
He does have the power to, absolutely. But I think it's too small for him. You're talking about somebody who eats planets, who eats worlds. I think fucking around New Jersey is just too small for him.
Oh well, poor Jersey.
I mean,
Can't catch a
now,
break, huh?
and maybe it's one of those cases like how Thanos is the one who sent Loki as kind of a subordinate to cause chaos in the first Avengers movie. I'm not saying that whoever's doing this, whether it be Mephisto or Agatha, isn't working for Galactus in some way. I don't think we're really going to find that out at the end of the show. But,
I'm just saying. I mean, maybe the next big bad man, he could do some Galactus shit.
Yeah.
Is there something, I've never asked this, is there something significant about New Jersey in the Marvel Universe?
In the movie universe, kind of. I mean, that's where that base is. That is the birthplace of Captain America. That's where that Camp Lehigh was.
That's true.
Other than that, I mean, maybe not hugely significant that I can think of. I mean, Captain Marvel doesn't take place there. None of the all the Iron Man stuff is either L.A. or New York.
This is just a coincidence that it's there.
Yeah,
Bluntman and Chronic are there.
Yeah, Bluntman and Chronic are there in New Jersey.
I'm just saying, Kevin, get in there, man.
When you really
please.
If the Avengers can't do it, you call Bluntman and Chronic.
Yes. Oh, I would watch that so hard. Please give us that episode.
I can see it now. A team up with Cockknocker. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yes. Oh, God damn it.
You need to go watch the View Askew universe. You need to go watch the Jay and Silent Bob movies. I understand what we're talking about.
Please. It'll bring so much joy to your life.
For those of you who enjoy the workings of Kevin Smith, Jeremy and I did go and do a spoiler review of the Jay and Silent Bob reboot that you can find in the review section. You're
welcome for that segue.
Yes. Thank you very much. Good job. Good setup.
I got you.
But,
that's why I am literally the hetero life mate. That worked.
Yes.
That right there.
This is why I've been trying to get him on the Drew Show to play some Cards Against Humanity with us. Me and Jeremy are going to walk off with that thing. First, second, every night.
Right.
But there's still some answers are starting to come, but there's still bigger questions that they're obviously not going to tell us right now. They're obviously not going to give us answers right now. There's a whole lot, and let's see. I think the promo that I saw for the next episode, I believe is the episode with that scene between Agatha God damn it, between Agatha.
I've got a minute now.
It's subliminal now. It's hardwired into the back of my head. Between Agnes and Vision, where she's in the car. One of the things I realized, Vision says something in this episode about why are there no kids in Westview, and I didn't get a chance to go back and watch all the episodes. I was going to try to do that today. I didn't get around to it.
I do recall, I thought.
This might be a weird Mandela effect where I'm like, oh, I'd expect to see kids. I'm like, I don't think there have been.
There is this weird theme about the kids going on in this, because in the second episode when they're having that little meeting with the girl Dottie, who we still do not know her story yet, we'll be getting her, I think, more this next episode as well, I think. But there was this running theme in that episode about for the children. And I thought it was really odd whenever someone said that, everybody else would repeat it. And I kept going back, and Jeremy will understand this.
That's true.
I kept going back in my head to that scene in, to those moments in Hot Fuzz. Where
I was just thinking Hot Fuzz, the greater good.
They would say for the greater good. If that was this weird mantra that they all had to justify everything that they were doing in that movie. And
weren't they doing the talent show for them or something?
Yes.
Or something to raise money for the kids?
Yes.
And there were no kids at the talent show. There were no kids at that talent show.
No, but they were doing it for them. For the kids. For the kids.
For the kids.
You know?
It's that same thing. It's really weird. A lot of people are drawing this line between the idea that the kids are kind of a weird running theme in the show, and the fact that in one of the first images that came out for the new Spider-Man movie, I don't know if you guys saw it or not, it's got the things like "We Believe Mephisto" or "We Stand with Spider-Man," but on that wall where these posters are put are a bunch of posters for missing kids. And they were kind of drawing a line between the proximity of New York and where they're at in New Jersey and these missing kids. And John Campea floated this really, really dark theory about why the missing kids are there and why there's no kids in Westview, is that either Wanda kidnapped all these kids, and that's one of the things that connects WandaVision
or
to
they're
the
not
Spider-Man
susceptible
movie.
to the mind control.
Or that she killed these kids, and because she can't just create out of her own will. She has to change something that exists into something else. Yeah. That she has actually taken these kids and has killed them or transformed them into her kids. I don't think
that are all the people in the town were the kids, and they all just magically aged up. I don't know.
Maybe I don't know.
No. Yeah. I think possibly. What if the kids aren't susceptible and they couldn't be mind controlled the way adults could?
Well, it's possible.
And that's what I was wondering. I was wondering about her kids. Like, they don't, like I said, they don't really seem to be in that same trance. But that's because
kids
they're her
are
kids.
Like a weird thing. We don't know what they are.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I mean, they do say that kids are susceptible to reading different emotions and stuff like that. That adults, that over the course of growth,
kids would pick up on it.
They can't get they don't do the same facade. Kids are like weirdly like brutally honest. They'll like flat out tell you they saw Uncle Jimmy back there flirt with some lady at the party that wasn't his wife. You know what I mean? They'll just flat out tell you that. It's weird.
Yeah. I don't know. That's interesting to me because I think maybe when Darcy first saw Monica in the TV, I thought that maybe there were some kids running around because the ice cream stand was there at some point, right? God, I really got to go back and watch all these again.
Yeah,
because that got me thinking.
Now that we're seeing all this,
when Vision says that, it got me thinking. I have not seen one child in this show yet, with the exception of the two twins. But there is this theme of for the children that has been rolling around over the course of this episode, or over the course of the series. That one episode,
even if they didn't know. I'm just saying, like, even if they didn't, like, just say for a second they didn't know anything about children, anyone in this town. Like I said, they knew, like, what the pregnancy was, the childbirth was. They all know the thing, like, they know where babies come from, is what I'm getting at. I'm like, so it's not, like, something that's, like, foreign to them, but I'm just like, yeah, but where the fuck are all these kids? You know what I mean?
I think we're going to have to find out. I have a feeling, what if she took the town of Westview and literally just left the few people that live there, maybe if very few kids even live there in the first place, and brought a bunch of people in.
It was a retirement community.
Because remember, the FBI guy gave a hint at the beginning. We're investigating a missed check-in for somebody who's in the witness protection, and we came to talk to their relatives. We don't know if the guy was from Westview or if his relatives were in Westview.
One thing keeps sticking out my mind is like, well, again, I have to go back and watch. I'm like, did Vision's boss and like his wife, fucking Eric Foreman's mom, did they ever mention they had kids? Because they were an older couple, right?
Oh,
they would have.
No.
You know what I mean? Like when they were having discussions, like just the small talk around the dinner table, like did they mention anything about having kids or anything like that?
I don't know if they mentioned it. At their age, though, I would imagine their kids are probably grown and out of the house.
Yeah, but I'm like,
but
still,
they don't
the
talk
whole...
about them.
Yeah,
they
I
ask
don't think
them,
they did.
are you going to have any kids?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, she's the one that asked them that. That's
Our
right.
kids are already raised. They didn't make any mention of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the lack of children that I kind of noticed in this episode after Vision said that. I was like, wait a minute, and I got to thinking about it. And like I said, I meant to go back and watch all the episodes again before doing this because I wanted to make sure
we'll start seeing more things.
But yeah, I really could not remember a time over the course of the series so far where I had seen any children other than hers.
And behind the scenes, they haven't talked about that either. Nobody's made a comment like Monica or I'm blanking on her name, the nerdy girl.
Darcy.
Yeah.
None of them have also commented that there's no kids either. So it's like everybody there, inside and outside of the hex, are completely ignorant to the fact there's no children around.
Yeah, I don't know.
Don't you think they would have noticed that?
Well, they are under some kind of weird spell, so maybe they're not noticing it because they're not supposed to. Whoever is controlling them, either Wanda or somebody else or something else, doesn't want them to notice. But you can't deny that there is this running theme of children in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's for the children, whether it's the absence of children that Vision points out, and then the sudden appearance and the weird growth spurts that Wanda's twins tend to go through. There is something significant about children. So, but we do have this Halloween episode coming up, and
I'm so excited.
You know, in the promos, I've seen a lot of kids out trick or treating. So maybe that explanation is going to. So maybe that kind of
brings
fits.
them around again because of him noticing there are kids to appease him and to try to get him to stay.
Yeah, somebody's like, oh, wait a minute, he just said no kids. And then with a wave of the hand or maybe a Bewitched-style tweak of the nose, some kids just kind of show up. Some kids just kind of appear.
So I dream a genie bullshit.
Yeah. But
yeah, see, that's what I was gonna mention. That's what I was gonna mention on the back of those pop figures. It had like I said, this is 3 or 4 episodes ago. I noticed these pop figures and it said Halloween. I'm like, you've made no mention about some Halloween bullshit going on. Did you just out yourselves already? Like, you want to get these out on the shelves, but
well, they had
Halloween. I'm intrigued.
Well, in the promotional material that came out before the first episode aired, there was.
Well, I mean, like I do the same thing, but I purposely kind of like shield myself from like I want to actually experience this. I don't want to too much to give away to myself. I'm like,
I'm weird about spoilers. Sometimes I really want them. Sometimes I want to avoid them. It depends on what the property is.
Well, what day will the new episode drop?
Friday.
Should be Friday.
Yeah, it's so. I can wait till Friday probably.
I actually have Friday off this week.
Sweet.
Ooh.
So, right.
Oh, so he's actually
now I do have
in the morning like I watch it.
I do. Right. I actually probably will wake up and fucking watch it. No, I do have plans for that weekend, but I'm saying I could probably actually see it a little sooner and get. Can I mention something that I saw? Something I'm kind of noticing now. I don't know if it's just me because I actually like sat for like whoa, and I backed it up. I don't know if it was just me, but like there was an exterior. I don't remember where it's at, but there's an exterior shot of the house, as you do with classic, sitcoms. And because I glanced over real quick, and like the lights on the house, like the little light by the driveway, and I think there was a light, like a porch light or something. I don't know if I'm seeing shit, but it looked like it had a red tinge to it. Because remember, we've kind of seen that thing happen.
Was that the night the beekeeper was there, or this later?
No, this episode that we just talked about.
Okay.
It was just like the light. You know how like it's got that weird little like, not like a hue around it, but like those little. It looks like it's kind of elongated. I don't know how to explain it. when you look at a light, and it's got that weird little. It looked red. It seemed kind of like it was meant to be that way. I don't know. And as I'm looking at this picture with Wanda and Vision about to fucking throw down, I'm like, well, her powers, her little aura is like red. I don't know if that has something to do with it. Her shoes are red. That's just me noticing shit. Vision's red. I don't know.
Well, I think this Halloween episode is what's coming up, so that's when we're going to see them in their Wanda, not Wanda Maximoff, but the Scarlet Witch and Vision costumes, the ones that are straight out of the comic books. So just for a cool visual cue, I'm kind of looking forward to that. But what are you guys expecting from episode 6? I mean, anything? I mean, probably a lot.
Wait. We didn't talk about the commercial in this one. What the hell was that about? What was that?
Let's talk about that.
So the kind of knockoff bounty commercial, like what was that?
You know, it did occur to me, isn't the woman in that commercial the same one that's been in all the commercials thus far?
That's what I was wondering. I'm like, wait, are these the same two people?
I think the woman and the guy are the same people that are in all the commercials.
They're a part of it too, then, I bet you.
I'll have to go back and look at the commercial specifically, but I really do think that I think he's the one that was like the salesman with the toaster in the first episode, and she was the woman who was putting the toast in.
The assistant. Then he was putting the watch on, right? And then she was behind him, like dressing him up.
I think those two were in every. I think those two were in everything, or in every commercial.
Do you know what would be a great thing to do? Is if we could watch all the commercials back to back from all the episodes with no show in between.
There's got to be a YouTube video up there that's cut them out.
Someone's probably got a YouTube cut, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but what's the Lagos thing, or Lagos, whatever they said? Because I'm like, this didn't mention Hydra or Stark this time. I'm like, unless I'm not in tune with all of these things in Marvel. I'm like, I don't know what that was, or was it just like a fake name? Was that a fake name of the? Maybe that I didn't catch. I was like scanning all over the fucking commercial. Like, wait, were there kids in that commercial?
Yes,
there were.
Didn't they spill? Yeah.
Shit.
Damn it! See, I wish I had a cam for that one. You should have seen my face just go. I'm like, wait, there were kids in that. I'm sorry, Frank. I should have had a cam.
Hey, man.
Because the kids spilled some shit. Yeah. So where are these two? Ooh, where are they at? What are these commercials? What do they mean? Some Call of Duty. The numbers, Mason. What do they mean?
I like it. Good eye, Jeremy. I didn't even pick up on that.
Glad I said, hey, let's talk about the commercial.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, me too.
Man, maybe there's like a separate entity of like maybe she just kind of pushed all the kids over to like, you know what? Maybe this is this channel that WandaVision's on, and the kids are off on a kids channel somewhere else over there.
My gut tells me that the commercials...
You know what she'll do? She'll just say they were all at summer camp.
Yeah, because we don't really know what time this is. Like,
or like Bible camp. You know, when kids off go to the church and they're gone for 3 days and learn all about Jesus and stuff. So, they were at summer camp or Bible camp.
Well, I don't know, because they're the only two kids that seem to be in town, because they were also surprised that their dad was working on a Saturday. That seemed to shock them.
That was so weird. The sense of time being off, it made me think that I keep saying the architect, whoever is behind all this, is somehow losing. Like they're having so much damage control that they're not able to keep the programming going.
Yeah, Gorilla said something interesting in the chat just now. Largos is the name of the place where she ended up blowing up that building, where she saved Captain America. Largos is also the name of the paper towel.
Right, okay. Because I'm like, that had to be something significant, and that's not... that was something a little more obscure to me, and again, I haven't seen all of the movies or been as in deep with this as... Now I'm going to have to, fuck. But, like, I didn't quite catch that then. I was like, I don't know what that means. It had to mean something.
I've thought through this series so far that the commercials are mostly fan service, that they're not necessarily significant, but they do tell kind of their own sub-story in this whole series. So
maybe it was her trying to clean something up.
Well, and we were talking about it. We were talking about like the whole, like in the first commercial with the toaster. The only thing that's in color is the light that is beeping red, and it sounds like a bomb. And then the next commercial, the Strucker watch, and then something about the soap I don't remember what it was about the soap. Well, did we? Oh yeah, we do actually see the woman in the soap commercial, huh? Because she's in the bathtub. There's something about the soap, and all these things tend like they're images related to Wanda's trauma.
Yeah, we were just thinking, like, well, like she said, like, maybe if we saw these all together just by themselves, we might, it's going to piece something together.
In order of how they were the episodes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to go on YouTube and try to find a cut of the, just the Wanda commercials. Because it did occur to me as I was watching this last episode, I think it's the same, at least the same girl, the same woman in all the commercials. I'll have to go back and watch for sure.
Carla's last comment makes sense, though. They represent major points of her life, tragic moments.
Yeah, they're representative of her trauma.
Yeah, because with Stark, and then Hydra fucking happening.
Yeah, and then Strucker's the one that experimented on them. Lagos being where she had that incident where she saved Captain America and blew up half that building and killed people accidentally. It does sound right that that's a representation of her. Of the trauma in her life, the significant stuff that we've seen. So
it's still being thrown into this reality to her that it's still part of who she is.
It is part of who she is.
Fucking hell.
But before we wrap things up, I do want to welcome a new subscriber. It is Coriander Loves Horror. Hopefully it'll play quick enough this time. I don't know why it's not playing these things very well right now. Come on, play, damn you, play. There we go. You can find Coriander over on the Night Watch Zone on his channel. She does a lot of the reviews with him, and she is a horror aficionado, much like yourself, Jeremy. So you're going to get a kick out of a lot of stuff that she says on there. Oh,
these people are about to be my new best friends. You already know.
They've got some good stuff.
He might leave your show, Frank, to go be on theirs.
Hey.
You know what? If they ever want to collaborate, I think the person I'd have to send over there would be Jeremy, because he is.
I was just thinking that, like, I would definitely. Yeah, bring me on there at least. I would love to fucking come and hang out and
he is steeped in the horror genre, where I know some stuff. Jeremy is an encyclopedia. That stuff is to me. But
some Ron Burgundy, I'm kind of a big deal.
He's kind of a big deal on the horror thing.
I'll watch a horror movie like, fucking 9 o'clock at night and go to bed just totally fine. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. He laughs at horror movies. They're all fun to him.
Yeah, I work in a haunted house. But
before we start to wrap this up,
I do it for fun.
Before we start to wrap this up and let everybody else get on to what they're doing on their Tuesday night, quick Patreon plug. Don't need a lead in for it. $4 or $5 a month. If you join the Patreon, I give away $25 in free movie tickets every month. Cora was the lucky winner again this last month. She gets to go see movies on me. All you guys have to do is for $5 a month. We give it away every first show of the month. So the first Thursday of the month, we give away $25 in free movie tickets. And we don't do this to support the movies necessarily. We're doing this to support the people that work at the theaters. We've all been going through a lot of shit the last year. All the people that work in the theaters, in the box office, in the concession stand, they're all just trying to work their way through life like the rest of us. Try to put some of this money towards just going and supporting them. Hopefully that's what you guys are getting out of this, because that's what I'm trying to accomplish.
It's not like anybody we know on the show has stock in these theaters.
Yeah, not at all. I'm not worried about that. My stock, that stock is a long-term play. That's for me to make money on in 20 years. But not 20 years.
Should have put it on GameStop, my guy.
No, GameStop's not going anywhere. It's going to die anyway.
Right.
That's why they chose to do this with GameStop, because it was a joke. AMC's going to be fine. I'm perfectly confident in my AMC.
You watch your whore mouth.
Don't need it. I think smaller game shops will probably do well from now on. GameStop and the bigger places, I think they're dying. I just think they're done.
eBay, eBay. It's where I buy
kind of the next
stuff.
It's kind of the next like Blockbuster. I was kind of thinking the same thing. It might end up tanking, which is unfortunate, to be honest.
Yeah.
Victoria's Secret not all like big stores in the malls are going to go eventually too.
Not like GameStop could. I mean, because I remember back in the day, I thought it was kind of dumb. Because I'm like, why would I do that when I could just go to the store? It's like the GameFly thing, where like, oh, we'll send you a game and like you can give it back, kind of like a renting thing. But it was like, not like GameStop could become some sort of service still that we're like, you can still get games from. Like, not necessarily on a physical medium. You know what I mean? They can still do it and like change with the time.
They could. Maybe they.
You're welcome. Yeah, right.
And there's Jeremy hopelessly plugging GameStop, hoping that they stay alive.
Not sponsored, by the way.
Not sponsored, by the way. They should sponsor.
Please give me money.
Sponsor him,
And
you cheap bastards.
don't forget to plug the Thursday night show, Frank.
The Thursday night show. Actually, we are going to be doing a Thursday night show, like always. Gorilla says crypto is where it's at. I'm still not sold on crypto yet, but I might get there. But,
not yet. Not
the Thursday
quite.
show, it is Black History Month, so we're going to be talking about this Thursday about some of our favorite black comedians. Men and women. It doesn't have to be just men. I think comedians is kind of an ambiguous term anyway to mean both. But we're all going to talk about some of our favorite black comedians coming up on Thursday. And then the Thursday after that, we already got the next couple of shows planned out, believe it or not. Look at me being all professional about my production and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Next week will be our favorite black dramatic actors, which there's probably a couple actors that could fall into both categories. And then after that, we're going to wrap up the month, the Black History Month, by just talking about just inclusion in film, just a general discussion about inclusion in Hollywood and how all that has been playing out. It's definitely been in the news a lot. If you read a lot of the entertainment stuff like I do, it's been a huge point for the last several years, really. I think it's all really kind of come to a head the last several years. But it's it's a good month to have this discussion. I think we're going to have it. I'm going to have it with a couple of smart people that I trust their opinions. So I would like to get one of my African American friends on here, but to be honest, none of them want to go on camera. I don't know why. I've talked to several friends, and I'm like, hey, you should come over and review, like Vampire in Brooklyn or one of these movies with me. They're like, oh, totally. Great, and I'll put it up on YouTube. They're like, oh, no, I don't want to do that. I'm like, well, that's the fun part. The fun part is putting it on YouTube and getting our opinions out there. They're like, nah. I'll sit there and talk about this movie all damn day and watch it 3 or 4 times in a row, but I don't want to go on YouTube. I'm like, come on, guys. Be cool. Maybe I get Heistman Defoe to come on here and do a review with me. I don't know. He'd do it. Think Heistman would do it? I think Heist would do it. I'm going to reach out to Heist, see if he'll do it.
You know, it's funny. You keep doing this Patreon commercial. I'm like, we're gonna start having our own little weird, like, WandaVision fucking commercials in between, like with our own Patreon.
You know, we could start shooting commercials. I've got a green. I've got a green screen. You can just come over one day. We'll write up.
Oh no, I mean, like, we could actually, like film a little short thing. Like we could get some people to stand in for, like, in place of it, like actors, get a little backdrop of, like, part of the house or whatever. Well, okay, we're gonna Mr. Rogers this, like.
We could. I'll put on the sweater.
Yes. Hell yes.
But anyway,
Can you just have me walk into your house? I'll just sing the song, take my fucking shoes off, and switch them over.
Sure, why not?
I got some little Vans I could switch over. Some little loafers.
The old high top Converse All Stars look really, really cool.
Hell yeah.
But
these are for work and these are for play.
Yeah, but it sounds like a good enough place to wrap this up. Any final thoughts on this episode and what could potentially be coming in the future?
Let's do it for the kids.
We had a chill one, and I think they gave us one that wasn't quite as guessy, and it was more giving us information to prepare us for more guessing. I think it's going to be more puzzling on the next episode, like the first 4.
Yeah, I'm with that. Jeremy, what do you think?
Yeah, with that, we're kind of, in a weird way, we are kind of, there's always that character who's kind of with the audience too, and for us that's like Vision, because he's just as fucking confused as we are. We're trying to figure out, like, well, wait, what's been going on with this? Like, who's, we're trying to find the answers at the same time. But yeah, I started the talk with you, Dave. I was like, you know what, just we'll do it for the children.
Yeah.
For the children.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's possibly coming the next episode. I feel like we're to the point where the answers are, when they come, they're going to come fast and furious, and it's going to be more than our puny human brains can really take. But they're going to give it to us anyway.
And you'll have to rewatch the episode like 3 times to get it all.
I actually watched this episode twice back to back, Friday when it came out, and then I went back and watched it again. Well, I mean, I had to go back and get screen grabs and everything for it. But I was watching it again, just kind of like looking, because I mean, this is one of the cool things with Marvel is I watch the movies or whatever the first time through. I just watch it and enjoy it, and then the next time I go through it, I'll watch the background. Like I said, the Spider-Man thing, what's hanging on the wall. Is there a weird name drop here that I'm not quite getting, or that I didn't get the first time? Is there something in the background, some kind of a character who looks like somebody else? Marvel's great about doing stuff like this. And you never know how much is fan service and how much is actually set up for something that might be coming in the future. That's the fun thing about all this.
I'm constantly scanning the fucking screen. Like, I'm enjoying it. I'm in it. I'm listening, but I'm also like I'm weirdly listening, but I'm also just my eyes are darting all over the fucking place, like looking for shit in every frame, and I don't know, maybe it's just me. But like you said, now that we're catching on to more of these things, that's what's cool. Is like they know what they're doing. So when we go back and watch these other things, we'll start catching those little things that we're seeing now. We'll see it in the past episodes. Like, oh wait, you're right, there are no kids, or this is there are these weird little hexagons that are fucking all over the place, or whatever's we'll start seeing it. Yeah, previously, and it'll blow your fucking mind. Yeah, I love shit like that.
I have a feeling this next episode is gonna answer one or two big questions. It's gonna give us one or two big ones, and then it's going to see. Then I think the next the next like probably 3 episodes, the last 3 episodes are going to be just a deluge of answer, because they're building up so many questions. We've gotten so few answers at this point with only 4 episodes left. You kind of have to start answering some of the big questions now that help set up the final confrontations and stuff.
They're going to do a big cliffhanger, make you wait for a movie or a season 2 they're waiting to announce until the
this
end
is all
of
tying,
episode 9.
It's all tying into this whole thing, right?
I'm not 100% certain there's going to be a second season of the show.
I think they're making us wait to even find out.
Well, John Campea did a video where somebody had asked him about the possibility of a second season of WandaVision. I haven't had a chance to watch it to get his opinion yet, but I had been thinking about dropping a question on him myself, saying, is there going to be, or is this WandaVision just a one-off season of this character? I don't really know yet. I imagine that they're going to leave a couple things unanswered that can carry over into season 2. But I'm not 100% confident that they will. At this point, it's 50-50.
I don't think they're going to answer everything. Like that's what you're saying. Like there's going to be some things that are going to be left off that are probably going to be picked up in other places of the MCU. So I don't think you're going to blow this whole wad of just completely closing this whole thing off.
I think they should do a second season and leave the cliffhanger in episode 9 and make people thirsty for it and watch movies and other content for 2 years to look for clues, and then give us another season that gives us all the answers.
You still have to make people want to watch this, yeah. So it's not all gonna just wrap up all nice with a little bow.
Well, Gorilla's in the chat says it's all tied to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That's true. It's also tied to, we've talked about it before. WandaVision is just Act 1. This whole season is supposed to be just Act 1 in this long arc that's going to happen over WandaVision, the new Spider-Man movie, and then eventually Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So, but again, if you're going to have a season 2, you're going to have to leave some WandaVision specific things kind of open to help build season 2 on.
I think we're going to see Wanda lose Vision one last time and break down and do something stupid, kill a bunch of people, and then that'll be the end.
Well, remember,
she's got to snap.
Remember, this all happens before the events of Spider-Man: Far From Home, the second movie.
Which I don't even know what that means every time you say that. So maybe I should watch that.
I'll watch that one for sure.
In Spider-Man: Far From Home, they mention Vision being dead. So my hot take on that is that Vision and their 2 children do not survive to the end of the show. They will.
Then again, is he really there? I'm air quoting so hard. I'm like, is he really there? Though everyone else just knows that he's dead.
I think
no one knows that, probably but Wanda.
I think the Vision that we saw created in Age of Ultron is dead. I think that he got the stone ripped out of his head, and Vision that we knew of died. I think the Vision that we're seeing right now is something that was fabricated. It's a consciousness of Vision that was fabricated by Wanda and put in his dead body to help facilitate her fantasy.
Because that would still tie that up.
That's why he doesn't have memories of anything before Westview. Because he would.
And also, like the only other.
Yeah, he doesn't remember being killed by Thanos. He doesn't remember the effort to separate the stone from him. He doesn't remember any of this.
And the only other footage, like they said, is the footage that Sword has. So I'm like, well, that's a government. They're going to keep that under wraps. They're not just going to let that out.
Yeah.
To let them know that she went in there and grabbed his body.
Yeah. So my hot take is that Vision and the 2 twins do not make it out of the series. At the end of
and then
episode
she'll
9,
freak the fuck out, stop the hex, and everybody inside will either die or be fine.
And that will be the big thing that pushes her over the edge and potentially, like I think, makes her the bad guy for Doctor Strange.
I love it.
And because like you said, it is got to come hard and fast because like this is kind of boiling over, and it boiled over fast. Like I said, they were ready to fucking fight. So
Yeah.
it's just gonna happen.
But we do still have that scene ahead of us where we don't know who he says this to, but where Vision says, "This is our town. We should fight for it." We don't know who he's saying that to yet. And
I thought maybe he was talking
fight?
to
maybe
Wanda.
Maybe he needs to fight Wanda.
Delusion that he thinks this is real.
That's what's sad.
I don't
man.
know. He's already putting together the fact that this is not entirely right. I don't know if he's going to fight for something that he knows is a lie. I think that he may be telling somebody we need to go fight against Wanda because it's right.
True.
I think that's what he's saying. But we're not going to find that out until we get to that scene, and that'll probably come in episode 9. But anyway, want to thank Lady Cora for being around and giving us all her wisdom. She's very smart. We're glad to have her around.
Well, it's not. It's kind of like the noob knowledge, because I have more questions and answers, and I'm looking at it from a different perspective.
Hey, that perspective is very, very important. Sometimes it catches the things that the more experienced MCU people like me and Jeremy miss. So
Okay, well, I'll take it.
And like I said, you may have questions that people like. There are other people like you that probably may not have seen this or as much of it, and
Do
you're
you
asking
guys
questions that
actually
they want.
recommend me seeing the Spider-Man Homecoming before I watch episode 9?
I will recommend all the MCU movies to you.
I have a challenge
Right.
I have a challenge for you two, and maybe you guys will have to collaborate on this. What order of and what list of movies should I watch, and what order?
In release,
I have
just
no idea.
watch the release.
My friend
this
just
is your homework. This is your homework.
order.
My friend just told me that today. She said her and her husband are watching it in the order. They have it on Disney Plus in the chronological order.
They do, yeah.
That's what they're doing. So start with like Captain America.
Well, I want you guys to think about it, and then before we start recording, sometime before episode 9, tell me what you think.
I just say watch them in release order. It's kind of all the same.
But I don't even know which movies are part of the Marvel universe.
Actually, I think
they have
Disney
them.
Plus has a playlist.
Disney has them. When you go to the Marvel section and they have it'll say here's phase 1, 2, 3. It has them in order that they came out, and then it says here the next tab down is like this is the chronological order of events.
Okay, because I've seen Iron Man 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's the first 2 that were
But
released.
I think that's about it.
Yeah.
The only thing 3 gave us was an allusion to the whole suit that he had in Endgame.
I may have
wasn't
seen
great.
the first Hulk movie with that boring girl Jennifer Connelly.
That is actually not part of the MCU.
We don't talk about.
That film is not part of the MCU, believe it or not. That film was
part of
made.
anything.
That film was actually made. I don't think it was a bad film, but it is actually not part of the MCU.
She's as boring as Hollywood actresses get. She's not.
Ironically enough, you know who she's married to?
No.
Paul Bettany, the guy who plays Vision.
No.
No shit.
Look, well, I don't know. I would say watch the movie Blood Diamond with Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Connelly. It's a good
but
movie.
it's her voice and her meekness, and she has no boobs, and her face.
Oh,
looks
that doesn't
plain.
matter.
She's boring to look at.
Look,
she's boring
look,
to watch act.
look,
Sorry. No,
look.
I'm judging.
I
know it's
happen-
awful. I know.
I'm like, look, I just happen to like women with dark hair. Maybe that's why. I don't know. And the subject matter of that movie is pretty fucking tense. You can't just be boring and be in that movie. Trust me.
Yeah,
I think I
that's
didn't
true.
like her in that movie where the guy where he had schizophrenia.
A Beautiful Mind is a fantastic movie. I actually like her in that movie.
Well, I will agree to disagree with you, gentlemen. I will stop throwing squirrels into this conversation and say I had fun.
Squirrel Girl? She's part of Marvel. Can we bring her in?
Hey, why not? Hey, Howard the Duck is part
Sorry,
of Marvel.
Gorilla. Sorry,
True.
Gorilla.
Howard the Duck is
I'm
part of Marvel. Let's
alienating
not
the
forget
audience, Frank. I'm sorry. Maybe I shouldn't be on next week's show.
Look, Squirrel Girl defeated Thanos. Look it up on Google. The actual reason. It says you don't need to know how. She just did. Don't question it.
Character called Squirrel Girl.
Squirrel Girl.
There's a whole lot of Marvel characters that are small
Oh,
characters. That we will
boy.
probably
She
never...
defeated. She defeated Thanos.
Yeah, we'll
Don't
probably
ask Hal. She just did.
Let's go. We'll probably never see a lot of
Good
these smaller
time.
characters, but that's
This
for
is
a reason. But thank you, Lady Cora. Thank you to my hetero life mate Jeremy. We've done 2 hours, and we probably could have gone a lot more if we really want to analyze this. But I have a feeling that we're going to have a whole lot to talk about over the course of these next 4 episodes. So thank you all for coming and hanging out with us. Nightwatch Zone was here. Go check out a link to his channel in the description below. Gorilla Strong, my man. What's up, buddy? Picking up heavy things and putting them down like a beast. Let's see who else was in here. I think we kind of lost some people towards the end. PZ Dude was here.
Bullsy was there.
Bullsy was here for a while. We like Bullsy. Let's see who else was here. I could have swore there was Jennifer was in here. Xavier Mills was in here at one point. Thanks a lot, everybody, for watching. I'm going to go yell at my girlfriend for not having watched even a little bit of part of the stream and not commenting and helping push us up the algorithm.